I don't know how much time I have, so I need to get my ass into high gear and get this thing done. Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today's video is going to be a rather large project with 3 individual tasks. Those tasks are going to be changing the front diff fluid, the transfer case fluid, and the rear diff fluid. All the fluid part numbers and their capacities will be listed down in the description, as well as they are listed in your owner's manual. What I'm covering today is for a Generation 4 2018 Plus Ford Expedition. Some of this stuff may apply to previous generations. Now, I did go to IDS, or to Ford, and I did pay the $22 for a 72-hour subscription, which compared to my little German car is a hell of a lot cheaper, and I get more time because they want $36 for 24 hours. And Ford's online system is much, much easier to use compared to the German version. Anyway, since there's 3 tasks listed in this video, there's gonna be timestamps for each individual section. And each section will have its own introduction so that you can go to that specific section and pick up and see what needs to be done without having to watch this section. So the front diff is going to be right here. The transfer case is going to be right here. And the rear differential is going to be right here. Now, I followed Ford's protocol with the exception that they called out 75W85 gear oil for both the front and the rear diff. And if you've looked online, that gear oil is pricey at $30 a quart. So looking around on the forums, both Expedition and the F-150, many people have went to the 80W90 gear oil fluid. So that's what I went ahead and chose, since this is like $20 on Amazon. There's even a well-known YouTuber that also recommends using the 80W90 over the 7585 fluid. Comment below if you know who I'm talking about. I also have the friction modifier, and I have Permatex thread sealant for the transfer case. I heard thunder. Now I have that song stuck in my head. We need to get this project going before I have an unscheduled rain washout. But if you've been around my channel long enough, you already know it always rains on me when I'm doing a project outside. Let's get to it. What I am doing in today's project on a Gen 4 Expedition may be applicable to the Expedition's sibling, the Navigator. Let me know down in the comments if what I demonstrate here helps you with the maintenance of your Navigator. Before it rains on me, the first task is to do the front differential. For those that are curious, the front diff is an 8.8. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe an 8.8 is the only differential offered for the Ford Expedition through all of its generations. The amount might vary from generation to generation, but for the Gen 4, the 2018 that I have right here, per the shop procedure, it is 1 3/4 quart, 1.75 quarts, or 1.66 liters. And you're supposed to fill it within 3 millimeters of the drain fill hole. Now, I don't know how you're gonna get in there and measure that, but that's what the shop procedure says. It does not mention using thread sealant on that drain/fill plug either. And that fill plug is, torque spec will be down in the description. I'm going to be using a fluid extractor to extract out the fluid. So let's get into that project. Before we get to the diff that's right over here, we got to remove this plastic carpet thing shield. So there's 2 13s right here, and there's 2 8s in the back. Clearly, when I removed this the last time when I installed it, I did not tighten this bolt down. Did I tighten this one down? Ooh, okay, well, 1 out of 2 isn't bad, I guess. Well, that one's done. Is this one all the way out too? Oh. Voila. So with that removed, right here is our diff, and right there's a fill port. Let's see if we can. So I don't remember that being wet on my inspection. I'm gonna need a new axle seal right here, it looks like, because that's not looking good. Yeah. So it looks like this seal right here is leaking. I wonder what I have to do to replace that. That's a separate project. So I'm gonna clean this off and then get my fluid extractor in here and clean this out. Or extract this fluid out anyway. Well, this is annoying. This flange right here is in my way. But, so with it removed, this looks focus. That doesn't look bad at all. And it appears there's thread sealant on this drain plug, fill plug. So I'm gonna clean those threads off and I'll put some sealant on. The shop procedure didn't mention it though, so I'm gonna get the extractor and extract this fluid out. This hose might be too thick. Yeah, this hose is too thick. I might have to change hoses. So I cheated a little bit here and fabricated this little adapter and went to this smaller hose. And hopefully that allows me to, oh yes. Now, I don't know how deep this is, but I would think you're gonna wanna put this in there as far probably down in here as you can get the hose. And then use the fluid extractor to extract out the fluid. This fluid is very thick. Oh, I must have had it smashed against something. There we go. So as you can see, it's coming through the hose right here. It doesn't look bad. I'm getting a lot of foam. So I'm wondering if I'm near the end of this. There we go. Probably just have to reposition the hose a couple of times to make sure you get down in this sump to get the fluid out. I'm not real sure if I got all the fluid out. Well, it still has a vacuum and it's still pulling the fluid out of the hose. Well, this is kind of a real pain to get through here. And this ledge right here don't make it any easier. Still pulling fluid out. Still pulling some fluid out. Let's see if I can't make this go like straight down. Oh, well there's like a wall right here, a plate. So it's gotta go up, nope. So it has to go straight down. Okay. Oh, there goes the dog. All right. I think all of this is out. All right, so since there is what appears to be thread sealant on these threads, I'm gonna clean these threads off and put some new thread sealant on. So, well, that looks about as good as that's gonna get. Clean the magnet. And gonna put some new thread sealant on. This is the thread sealant that I'm using. There is a Motorcraft thread sealant. I'll put that down in the description. Oh, I don't know if I've ever really used thread sealant, so probably don't want it on that magnet. Okay, there we go. Now to fill up. Now that we have the fluid drained, I'm just gonna use this bottle pump and pump fluid back up in there. And it's supposed to be 1.75 quarts. So I'm pretty much going to use this whole bottle here. Now this fluid is pretty thick, so this is going to be a minute for you to pump all this fluid up in there. Well, that's not right. There's still fluid in this bottle. I want this fluid out of the bottle. Oh well. Bottle change. New bottle. And we continue pumping. My arm is already tired from doing this. May I recommend getting a power pump? Probably a pneumatic pump. I just thought about something. If I'm tired from doing this 1 quart of this fluid, and I have to do the 10 or 80, that's like 13 quarts of fluid. This, I might be buying me a power filler type of thing. I don't want to be underneath here pumping 13 quarts of fluid into that transmission. But that's a later project. Oh, this hurts my arm. I might have to switch hands. Switch arms, you know, keep things interesting. Well, I put a whole quart. This bottle was half a quart, and I put this whole quart in here. Well, not this whole quart, but as much as I can get out of it. I dumped the remaining of the bottle, 1 bottle into the new bottle, and I kind of overfilled it. I think I should be close to having this front diff filled. Yep, that's full. It's full. I'm a little overfilled. Whoops. We got our new thread. Now we just gotta put it in there. And then crank it down, right? Now, well, that was decently easy. It took about 10 minutes to drain with the fluid extractor, and probably about 10 minutes to refill using the hand pump. Now I don't gotta torque that down. This one's done. I'm gonna put this shield back on, and then we move back to do the transfer case, which I don't think I had to remove a shield for. It's just out in the open. With the front diff drained and filled, moving down the line, I have the transfer case. And this should be really easy to do, as the transfer case is readily accessible, both the drain plug and the fill plug. Looking at Ford's procedure, it is the only one that mentions to use thread sealant on the threads, but not the front diff or the rear diff. I wonder why. What is our torque spec for the drain and fill plug? 133 inch-pounds. And 133 inch-pounds is 11 foot-pounds. Oh, well, that goes to 11 foot-pounds, and the front diff is 18 foot-pounds. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, Ford. The fluid is going to be XT-10-QLVC, which is automatic transmission fluid, but it's not the same fluid as the 10R80, which is QLVC fluid. How much fluid do we need? The procedure says we need 1.4 liters or 2.9 pints. Really, Ford? Why can't you just give me a consistent liters in quarts or liters in pints? So 2.9 pints is what, 1.7, some math here real quick. 1.7 quarts, and I got 2 quarts right here, so that's pretty good to go. Now, a side note on this transfer case. Ford's procedure does not distinguish between a 2-speed transfer case and their 1-speed transfer case. Well, how do you know which one you got? If you have tow package, like I do, you've got 2 high, 4 low. If you have 4 low, you have the 2-speed transfer case. If all you have is 2 high and 4 auto, then you have the 1-speed transfer case. The procedure to change the fluid does not distinguish between the two, so I'm going to assume, using Ford's procedure that doesn't distinguish between the two, that what I'm doing here on my 2-speed transfer case is going to be the same for your 1-speed transfer case on your Expedition. Also note, this is for a 2018 Expedition, Generation 4. I am not sure of Generations 1 through 3, of what their procedure is. Because the shop manual that I looked up is only for my Expedition. So with that, let's go drain this fluid and get this done, shall we? Now, we've got our fill port and we have our drain. Now, when doing this, you want to remove the fill port plug first. And that is because if you remove the drain plug and drain the fluid out, but then you can't remove the fill plug, well, you're gonna be up shit creek. This way, if you can remove the fill plug, but not the drain plug, you can at least suck the fluid out and still refill your transfer case. And that goes for any item that's got a fill and a drain plug. So I'm going to remove the top one first, or at least try to. Cosmo, my love, you are in my way. Ooh. Now my Expedition is only six years old. 18 to 20 is 2, yeah. So my plugs should come undone. Whoop, pretty easy. Oh, and it's pissing out fluid already. Now, actually that looks pretty good. I only have 80,000 miles. It's not gritty, it's still clear, and it's still red. I may not actually have to do this. So as you can see, the fluid is still red and still looks clear. With this fluid looking pretty clear, I might not actually have to replace this fluid. But being 6 years old, and I bought it used, I don't know how it was used before I got it. So with 84,000 miles right now, and I've already come this far, I'm just gonna drain the fluid out with my dog in my way. Well, excuse me, buddy. Oops, I hit something over there. Ooh. Remember how I said you want to do the top bolt first? This would be what? Oh, because that was on there. Whoa. And then we'll have to clear these threads up. It was at this moment that I realized, oh, fuck my life. Ah! Well, boy, I just made a mess. Was that on camera? Probably. So, word of advice. Have a much bigger bowl than I did. Well, we'll have to clean my driveway at some point here. While that's draining out, I'm going to prep my drain and fill plugs. Now that I've made a mess, all right, now that we're done draining, after I've already made my mess in my driveway, we're going to clean this area, clean this area. There we go. And then we just screw this back in. Clean this off. Use our ratchet. And I just go hand tight. Remember, it's not very tight. And there we go. Now I get my fluid and I fill 1.7 quarts. I have to say, put a little hose in there. Now, if you're doing the project like I am, I would not use the same pump that you used for the front and the rear diffs, because that pump's going to be having gear oil in it, not ATF. So I would recommend having different pumps for different fluids. I have to say, this is much easier than doing the PTU fluid change on the Flex. And this fluid isn't as thick as the gear oil previously. Whoa, 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 why are we dripping out? What is going on? I'm out. At least that one's out. Now we pull out. Oh, well, that was easy. All right, now this should be 3/4 of this. The procedure says the fill is within 10 millimeters of the fill hole. Again, I don't know how you're supposed to get in there and check the depth, but okay. My arm is tired. I should be nearing the fullness of this transfer case. There we go. Oh, too much. Pull out, pull out, pull out. Well, I guess I waited too long to pull out. And put the fill plug in. Oh, or drop it like I did. There we go. Now I'm gonna put it in there by hand, find my ratchet, find the hole again, and tighten it down. Remember, 11 foot-pounds, that's all you need. I probably have too much thread sealant on that, but oh well. Transfer case is done. Time to go back and do the rear diff. I really made a mess underneath there with that fluid. That's added to the list of projects to do. The transfer case task is completed, albeit I made a mess. The last task to do for my driveline fluid change project is the rear differential. And this is where things get kind of muddy, depending on how the Expedition is optioned. I'm gonna intervene right here, cutting my past version self off, because everything he said after that was massively confusing. And even right here in post, I'm looking at that and like, what did I say? When I was researching the procedure to do the rear diff fluid change, I was presented with a lot of different information and I didn't know how to piece it together. So this is my thought process, and if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments for those more experienced with Ford rear ends than what I am. It is my understanding there's two rear ends for the Expedition, an 8.8 rear end and a 9.75 rear end. Those are the differential sizes. And the axle ratios that are tied to them is the 9.75 is a 373 axle ratio and the 8.8 is a 315 or a 331 axle ratio. It is also my understanding that the electronic locking differential that you get with heavy tow package, or if you have the Timberline trim or the FX4 trim, that electronic locker is only a 975 rear end. Looking at Ford specifications, right here is an axle code sheet, and then right here on your door jamb will be the axle code, right here. So my whole entire confusion was what axle ratio relates to what size differential. So I hope I explained that correctly, and if I didn't, please feel free to correct me down in the comments. The quantities for those two different rear ends will be listed down in the description, and I will also put an overlay right here. There is one other item that the procedure had discussed for the rear differential, and that is the hydraulic actuator for the locking differential. And all the procedure had discussed was how to access that actuator and how to check the fluid of the actuator. And that was it. It made no mention of a fluid change unless you're changing out the actuator. It made no mention of an interval, a mileage interval of changing out that fluid. All it did was give you directions on how to make a dipstick to check the level of the fluid, and that was it. Even the owner's manual does not make any mention of that hydraulic actuator. The fluid part number and the quantity for it I will list down in the description. This, again, for the rear diff does not specify using thread sealant on the drain or the fill plugs. But as for the front, I will probably put thread sealant on. So let's get underneath there and get this project done, shall we? So right here's the fill and right here's the drain. As per previously, we want to do the fill port first. See if I can get this undone. I guess first I have to get it in the hole, right? Ow. All right. And that came undone. Now, I learned my previous lesson. We have the drain port. Let's see how this looks. Removing this. And let's see if I don't make a mess like I did the last time. Oh, oh. Actually, that wasn't that bad. And looking at this fluid, it still looks decently clear. That was easy and less of a mess of the transfer case. Okay. Now, it does look like there's some kind of thread sealant on there, but maybe not. Maybe it's just paint. So, and my magnet here doesn't look like it's got a lot of sludge on it. Some, but not a lot, which I think would be expected since this is the first fluid change. So I'm going to let that drain, and while that's draining, I'm going to clear off these plugs. Okay, well, now this is pretty much done draining out. I'm going to put my drain bolt back in here. There we go. Wipe my glove, wipe the diff. 18 foot-pounds. Not a lot. Just snug. And then we go get our fluid and fill up. So I need 2.4 quarts of the fluid plus 4 ounces of the friction modifier all the way up into this hole right here. So this is another one of those holding and pumping. I forgot how thick this fluid is. One's done, move on to the next one. Man, I forgot how long this is going to take with this thick of fluid. Okay. This is not as tight as the Flex, but it's still kind of up there. 0.4. I stopped for a second because now I got to add the friction modifier. And how I'm going to do that is I was going to see if I could just use this tube from this pump. But I don't think that's going to really work. So I'm probably going to just put the pump into the bottle and pump the whole bottle. So that's what we're going to do now. This is kind of what I got going on. Oh, and I think that's it. And then I'm going to use I think that's it. Come on. So I didn't get all 4 ounces of friction. Well, there's probably an ounce or 2 left in this of friction modifier. So I think I'm gonna try and put this back in the fluid and pump a little bit more up in there to get the rest of this out of the hose. There we go. That's about as good as that's gonna get. And then I'm just going to grab the fill plug and put it up in there. And then tighten it down. Snug it up, and that's it. Well, that concludes doing the differential fluid change. I did think of this afterwards, but the friction modifier, as I had used the bottle pump to pump it into the diff, I probably could have just pumped out one of the quarts and then dumped this in the quart and then pumped everything in all at once. I'll note that the next time I do this fluid change. The user manual states that you don't actually have to change this fluid until 150,000 miles. Let me know down in the comments on what you guys think of that idea. Because if you're towing a lot, you're working that ELSD a lot, you're gonna wear that fluid out much quicker. On the other hand, if you don't ever use the ELSD, you just drive it on the highway, then you probably wasted your money paying for the option that you're never gonna use. But isn't that what our marketing system is all about? Convincing you to buy stuff that just in case you need it, you wanna buy it, rather than buying what you actually need? Let me know in the comments down below. I think I'm too old to be crawling around on concrete. At least I have this platform, but damn, I gotta dump that out. Well, folks, that concludes this video, this topic. Let me know in the comments on how well I did, what you would have done differently. Finish the project just in time before the rain came. That was a project. For more expedition content, click this playlist. For more content posted this year, click this playlist. And to subscribe to this channel, click here.